Hi, welcome to the third part of this introductory lecture notes. We've been looking at this hello world. We've discovered that if we want to grab a substring, how the second value works. Okay, and we did that by coding examples and working it out from what the code told us. The reason that I've applied it and approached the video in that way is to encourage you to do the same thing. If you don't understand something, you should use the code to tell you what it's doing. It's a very, very useful technique. Next up is apparently, I'm told, and I know with Python, you can use a negative number as an index. In theory, I should be able to do this. That's what I've been told, but I want to know how does that work because there is no negative here. So what we're going to do is we're going to just see if Python itself can tell us what -1 means and see whether we can work out what this -1 stuff does. And if that was -3, -4, etc., we'll use this and we'll print out this first of all and see what it tells us and see if we can deduce what's going on. Let's go back to our main. We get rid of the pair of them and put in just -1. So at this stage, you might think, I have no idea what -1 will do. Okay, so let's find out from Python. We've got hello world, let's run it. Oh, interesting. It's given me the D. Okay, that's interesting. It's not what you were expected. What happens if we put in -2? Let's run that. See what that does. Oh, it's given me L. Hang on, which L is it given me? I'm guessing it's starting here and it's going backwards. But let's put in -3. If I'm right, then -3 should give me R, right? That is coming backwards from the end. It's counting downwards from the top end. So let's run file as script. Let's run main. And it is R. Interesting. Let's go back to our theory and our notes. So this negative index starts, it's like this. Imagine, it seems to me that if you've got the indexes here, right, which all go up in a positive direction, but imagine something like this is going on, right? That you are counting -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, etc., etc. You are counting from the end of the string in this direction when you use the negative. So what I would recommend is that you play with it. So if I want to get that O there, if I start here, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, theoretically that should give me that there. Should we try it? Let's go -7. Let's run it. Remember, we are using Python itself to show us how it works. Oops, yeah, I put a 0 in there. Oh, there's an O, and I think that's pretty much what we were expecting, right? What happens if I want that E? So let's go -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's try that. 10. -10. So we're counting downwards from the top, and let's see what happens, right? So we're expecting, just be clear about this, we're expecting the E, okay? Let's see if that works. It does give us an E. Now, what you'll notice is that, let's go back to our notes, that's actually quite an interesting but powerful feature of something Python does which not many other languages do. Your biggest question at this stage would be, what value is that to me? You know, if I want to lift a string, why do I need to start at this end and come back down this end? Now, I'm not going to spend time in the video answering why, except to say there are some very powerful uses of this. But what we're going to try to do in this end piece is we're going to take the previous video, where we took a substring by taking the string, square bracket, we gave it a starting index, and we gave it, let's just say, less than the top end. So, you know, maybe it was an 8. So if it was 0 to 8, what 0 to 8 should display is 0 all the way up to that O. Remember, it's always less than there. let's just double check that we're happy with that first, and then we're going to play by combining it with the negative. Right, so let's get rid of that 10, put a 0 in there, colon, and we said 8. So it should, and let's emphasize this, what we're expecting is it only goes to the O, right? 0 to 8. It doesn't go to the 8, it goes one below, as we were saying in previous video. Right, let's run it and see what that does. So it should be hello whoa. I think that's what we're expecting to see. I've got a cup of tea in front of me. Run it, and it's hello whoa. Interesting. Now here's a further challenge to us. Is there a way of combining these with negative values, so you can put negative values and select a piece of the string just using negative values? So you start here and you go that way to select, right? So we don't do 6 to 10 or 6 to 11. We start with -1 and we go down to wherever that is. Let's see if that works. And I'm going to stop on that because otherwise the video will spiral out of control and we'll have all kinds of combinations. What I would encourage you to do is play with this. In previous years, Matthew has spent time in lectures giving you variations. The worksheets have variations for you to practice. At this stage, you may not find it useful or make sense to you. Why do you need to do it? But it is a very, very powerful technique that experienced programmers might spot the value of. Those who are new might think this is just strange. Okay, but I'll do what you say. So let's do a little experiment just to end. Instead of specifying 0 to 8, what happens if we specify -1, right? So it starts with there, and we come down to, I don't know, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do that. What do we think? Hang on, let me shift that onto screen. What do we think that will display? Will it display anything at all, right? Is this way of selecting a string only correct for positive numbers, or can you use it for negative numbers? Will it start literally with -1 here and count -1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and include the W, or will it do something peculiar like only go to the O and do odd things like that? That's a very, very interesting series of questions. Let's try to answer it by typing that into Paizo and see what comes back to us. Right? So we are expecting at this stage anything could happen. Could crash, it could complain, it could give me the wrong section, but see what happens. And this is, as I emphasize, the absolute best way of approaching your learning to programming, playing with it, experimenting. Right, so I'm using that same logic, as I've said before, going, and I've used it with positive numbers. What happens if I stick these two negative in the way we've just described? Right. You can lay your guesses now before I run it, and before I execute it, let's have some predictions of what we think might be going on. Someone might predict it will crash because this actually negative notation is bizarre. Someone might say, well, it start with -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it will include the W. Some of you may think it won't, it'll only include the O, but let's have a look. Let's hit enter here. It didn't do anything at all. As far as I can see, it didn't crash, interestingly enough, but it certainly did not display anything. So that's the first thing that we discovered. We can't pop two negative numbers. So let's just very cheekily change the second one to a positive and see what happens, right? Again, we're asking the environment. You can read all the notes. It can tell you, it'll answer the question, save you all of this work, but you'll learn less. Didn't like that either. Interesting. What happens if we have a positive number here and a -1 or a -5 up here? Will that work? Let's see what happens here. Now, the purpose is here entirely to try to work out, deduce how this system is working. Oh, hang on. Something happened. Something happened, and it gave me the word hello. So it started at a positive integer, and it seemed to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoa, that's interesting. The 5 actually went to the 5. What happens if I put in 9, negative 9. Because remember, let's just go back to our notes. 0 to 5 is, to negative 5 should have included that gap, but it didn't. It seems to have included 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, gone one less. But we're not quite sure why or how at this stage. How is it working? So let's by putting a 9 in, let's see if we get a clearer image of what's going on. I've got a negative 9 now. And I'm going to predict it's going to say everything bar the last letter, but I'm not going to. Oh, that is completely different. That is completely different. So maybe we have a clue here. It's given me the first 2 characters. So what is going on? I start at 0, which I'm not quite sure how it's interpreting, and I put minus 9 in. The minus 9 seems to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then the remaining characters between the 0 and the minus 9 are displayed. Do you see what I'm saying? There's a 0, so that gives me a start character. The minus 9 counts downwardly to give me the end character. That's what it looks like, right? Minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Gets to there, right? From 0 to there, that's what it displays. Let's do minus 8, which should take me to there. And let's make the first index a 1. Let's see if that logic is correct. Let's get rid of that. Let's make that minus 8. And let's have a look. And at this point, I'll probably stop and ask you to carry on playing with it. Oh, interesting. EL. Why did it display EL? Well, 1, the index 1 is the E. So that's our start character. But the end character we said was minus 8. So coming back to our environment, we went minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it stopped there. So we started at 1 and we stopped there at 8. And the 2 characters visible are those 2 there. That's quite a tricky thing to get your head round. But I would encourage you just to play, to mix and match these concepts until you're confident you have a fairly good grasp of how these mechanisms work and what's going on. And we'll stop there and encourage you to watch the rest of the videos and also to play.